Hello, this is Diva Brown from Simply Magazine. Simply has a wide range of educational titles. We've talked about a few in the writing area: 500 core SAT, GRE, and basic skill words, 1,500 vocabulary words, punctuation, 60 minutes to better writing, and the classic The Elements of Style by William Strunk, the best-selling book on writing in history. This is about the American presidency, the states of the U.S., history, politics, and conflict resolution. What happened here that's most interesting to us that we use in many of our discs is what Edward de Bono, an Oxford professor, found, which is so many people who are smart don't think well. He found the reason was they learned to argue, not think. And so de Bono came up with three ideas about thinking, which is quite magnificent. The first is work together with somebody to come up with the pluses, then work on the minuses, and then, and this is where he said the genius comes in, talk about the interesting points. And in this case, there are two examples that we're going to use. The first one is the Palestinian-Israeli conflict in the Middle East, which has been going on since Israel became a new country in 1948. One of the things Peter Drucker said is if three good people have failed in a job, it's probably the job at fault, not the people. Well, the great American presidents, and we've had a number of them, and the more average ones, and they've been fine, all have tried since 1948, starting with Harry Truman, to fix this problem, and none of them have succeeded. So the odds are there's something wrong. Something's not working. Now we go to de Bono, pluses, minuses, and interesting points. The plus of the solution is the whole world would like to end this nonsense and have these people deal with each other. Now that's not necessarily the right moral or political answer, but people are tired of it. It's been going on a long time. And when we say people, we mean everyone from Iran to Saudi Arabia, to France, to the United States, to China. All at some level would like this to end. But they're not the participants. The Israelis and the Palestinians cannot solve this problem. And if they can't solve it, you have to do what you do in conflict resolution, is take a step back. In other words, you say in conflict resolution, or with Edward de Bono, we've looked at the pluses, we've looked at the minuses, and there is no solution. It's up to you. And if you don't want to solve it, that's the way it is, but please don't bother us anymore. That's an interesting point of view, and I think de Bono and Drucker would both agree on that, and that might solve the problem. In other words, the whole world could stop paying attention. All the American presidents could stop using their capital to try to solve something that the participants don't. And it comes down to a great line we have from our language titles and our literary titles from Ogden Nash. It only takes one to start a fight. Well, one of those guys is starting the fight and continuing it. Many people dispute which one it is, but that's where we are there. The second part is the American presidency. Obama has essentially ratified Bush, and there's some people disappointed with that. But Clinton ratified Reagan, and Reagan ratified Eisenhower, and Nixon ratified John F. Kennedy in foreign affairs, and Eisenhower ratified FDR. Now what does this mean? Well, many ideologues, those are people that only can see it from one point of view, think this is weakness. But in America, we tend to come together. And what does that mean in presidency? The pluses, the minuses, the interesting points. So Obama came and got elected on a platform that didn't work very well. Nothing seemed to work, and very well. And so he thought about it, and he turned the chessboard around, and he ratified the Bush tax program, which is essentially the program put forth by Reagan, and of course JFK, when he first came in office, cut the tax rates. So this is a long lineage. It isn't Obama changed everything. It isn't that Bush did. It isn't that Reagan did. It isn't that Kennedy did. This is the American presidency. So when you're looking at this, one should think that way. The other thing that's obvious is the United States has never done very well overseas, starting with George Washington's farewell address that warned us about foreign entanglements. And Americans are very self-critical about that. We're never very confident about our foreign affairs. We always think we do it badly, which is a good thing because that means we're open to de bono, plus, minus, and interesting points. So right now we have this interesting situation. We turned the chessboard around and we said, well, what are the terrorists most afraid of? They're most afraid of the Keystone Pipeline, because if that goes through, America is on its way to energy independence, and because we're criticized for attacking the Middle East for oil, well, if we don't need the oil, there's no reason to attack, and they're somewhat terrified by it. Now here's the point that's important for you as a student to look at. Not to take sides, not that Bush is right, not that Obama's right, not that JFK's right, not that Reagan's right, not that Clinton's right, but that the American presidency is a series of acceptances of other people's points of view, incorporating in our thinking and moving forward. And perhaps the greatest example of this is Bernard Lewis, the great scholar of the Middle East. And when someone asked him, well, why did the Middle East start so far ahead of the rest of the world and fall so far behind? And he said, in Europe, most great Arabian books were translated into the languages of the country. Arabia did not translate it. Well, what are they doing today in the Middle East? Cutting off the internet, not involving themselves in things. And what does the United States do? Use the words and thoughts of the whole world. And so that's core to understanding the American presidency, that we take the pluses and the minuses and the interesting points. I hope you will go to audible.com and staples.com and download some of our books on the subject. The American Presidency, The Great Thoughts from Washington to Obama, the U.S. presidents and more about the terms of the presidents, what they did. Also the shape of the states. How did the states come about? What did Congress do to do it? So thank you very much for listening. This has been Deaver Brown from Simply Magazine.